everyone. Welcome back to the Geek Branch podcast. I believe in our previous episode I said we were going to be talking about gaming next, but we decided to actually focus on our otaku talk. So, the topics that we'll be discussing is, I know it is video game related, but it is also very much otaku related, which is the Code Vein review bomb. But has been review bombed by reviewers due to fan service. And then on top of that, we'll also be talking about the Sony and Funimation merger with the two other streaming services from France. And I believe the other one was Australia.
Yes.
Australia's Madman. And then once we're done discussing that, we will also be talking about the much talked about last chapter of Boruto. So we'll start off with the Code Vein review bomb. Our co-host Dane is more familiar with this situation, so I figured he could get us more in touch with this.
All right. So, as you all know, right, Dark Souls has become a title amongst the video gaming community. It is an archetype of games which includes a very high difficulty level, replayability because your character is most likely going to get murdered and then you have to restart. Should probably know what a Dark Souls game is. Well, Code Vein is an anime-esque, vampire-based Dark Souls RPG. And it is pretty popular. The combat's a little bit more difficult because it's sped up with a little bit more intricacies added to it. And so far, most reviews have placed it as a pretty good game, around a solid 8. But if you look at review scores, that number has been much lower, some as low as a 6. And the reason for that, of course, has been an outrage over the nature of the game. Well, it's an anime style, vampire-based Japanese RPG, which leans towards, for lack of better terms, fan service. There's just really no way of getting around that. And the problem seems to be...
Is it because of the way the women are dressed?
Yes, one of the classical issues with gaming. I mean, Dead or Alive got the same treatment.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But not only that, but a lot of gaming journalists are pointing towards sexism within the story and characters of the game. Which is a bit moronic because you're accusing certain characters of being chauvinists when they're, 1, not human, 2, ancient, and 3, have no sense of modern sensibility. So it's kind of fast out. But that's the current situation.
It's also in a fantasy world made by people in Japan who have a different cultural mindset than people in America.
Right, and a deeper appreciation of fan service.
Yes, appreciation. People that enjoy it, that live in America, understands there's a different culture here compared to there, which is fine. Not every country has to be the same in their beliefs.
Right, and Japanese media, especially games, tends to have a higher exposure rate than their American counterpart. So that means that you're going to see a lot more skin, both on the men and the women. You're going to see low-cut shirts, open chests, lots of leg, just the way their system is.
I don't think that they should review based on those merits. I think they should review it on the gameplay style. They should view it on the story elements, different things like the graphics. Obviously, if there's hiccups with that or something like that,
the game
issues
looks
or something like that. I had the game. I played it for a little bit. I haven't got to play it much. It just came out this weekend, but I've enjoyed it. I mean, I see the anime tropes, as you could say, that they would not be happy with.
Right.
But I consume anime on a regular basis, so it doesn't bother me in the least. It's just like watching an anime, you know?
I'm not a fan of fan service. I'm not. I'm more conservative in that way.
Right.
It's just not my thing, right? So everybody has their thing. I am more for serious storytelling than I am for fan service when fan service appears.
I know you love your fan service, so talk with on.
But no, it's fine. So look. Here's a perfect reason for it to be the case, though. We're talking about vampires, right? If there's any situation where you should have fan service, right? I'm not talking like High School of the Dead,
right?
Where we're talking about the zombie apocalypse. I don't have time for fan service there. I came to watch zombies.
That anime.
But pause. But when we're talking about vampires, though, Come on. No better opportunity for you to just include it and have it make sense. What do you expect from a vampire? They're literally predators that feed off of humans. Might as well seduce the human. You don't have to chase them down in the middle of the night.
I mean, vampires and seduction kind of go hand in hand. In American literature and American media, that's what they usually do.
Look at our vampires. Look at Blood Rain. Look
True
at
Blood.
Underworld. True Blood.
Vampire Diaries.
Right. What do we have here? A lot of sex appeal.
Yes.
And if you don't have the gall and wherewithal to criticize American media for doing it, you surely shouldn't expect a foreign culture to meet whatever
especially a
standards
foreign
you have.
culture that is very open to sexuality. They don't really think about it the same way we do. I mean, they have game shows where people are getting naked and stuff like that.
True that.
I mean, they don't think about it the same way the American culture does. It's different over there.
How censored is the game?
Well, you're not going to see any actual nudity.
You're not going to see actual nudity.
Well, the
in
reason I
game.
ask is because I was looking at reviews for it because I don't know much about it. And one of the, most of the reviews I'm seeing are, this is sexist, no. But the only one that I've seen that's on the other side of the fence is, they better not censor this game. And so I wasn't aware if they censored it at all.
There's not really. I haven't.
To
seen
my
any-
experience of playing it, I haven't actually seen too much in the way of censorship as far as.
I've seen way worse. We have some friends that like playing the weebiest of weeb games, and those games are way more inappropriate than this game.
Right. But at that point, right, you got to understand that.
That's
when
the purpose of that game.
Yeah, when you censor those games, you're cutting content.
Yeah, you're
Which is
essentially taking away
tragic.
the game that they purposely made.
Right.
The Code Vein.
No, it's not in that window at all.
No, it's not nearly like that game series that you
Right.
mentioned.
And there are some characters, right, who in the game take certain stances. Like one of the main male leads has to protect 3 females, and he literally refers to them as sheep that he has to shepherd. You know, I now have to defend these 3 people, and we're like, well, sure, maybe you shouldn't refer to women as sheep, but literally that's what he has to do. It's kind of like in Resident Evil when you have a protection quest. When you're protecting the president's daughter.
Yeah.
What am I doing here if not shepherding a sheep? And not saying that she is a sheep and that she's not a character that can do anything in her own perspective, because the characters in Code Vein, the 3 women he's protecting, probably could get together and beat his behind.
Probably could.
But all I'm saying is the fact that that character decided to have that line, that's just that character. At most, he's just a really old douchebag.
Well, I've noticed in the past year, they've really tried to focus on these style of anime games that come over to America where they want to censor them. And I don't understand why all of a sudden it's become an issue when we've had these games like this and they're not trying to be sexist. It's not the intention of the game developers whatsoever.
Did you guys play Dante's Inferno?
A long time ago, but yes.
Oh, yes.
Y'all remember the graphic
Cleopatra?
content in that?
Yeah.
Cleopatra.
Yeah.
That summarizes everything you ever need to say there. Cleopatra and the H of Babylon.
Yep.
Or that mini game in God of War.
Yep.
Yeah.
God
God of War 3.
Yeah.
You gotta knock the chalice off the nice
Look, let me
thing.
explain to you right quick that I would never, ever, 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 ever sleep with Aphrodite. That is a horrible idea.
I wanted to tell that to Kratos.
I was like, yo, Kratos, man, don't do it.
It's a bad idea.
You're going to have your demigod children up here running around and murdering you.
Should have seen what happened with the last God of War.
I wonder where Americans' viewpoints have changed, because we'll distribute violent sexual content, but then when something comes over
from another country,
we're immediately like, no.
the style's different. It's because of the way they present it versus the way they want to present it here now.
I mean, hey, I find that that's some of the best of American media. Ultra violence and raw sexuality. That's kind of what we're known for. We're America.
Yeah, so it seems kind of
Rambo.
hypocritical that reviewers are trying to basically say that this game is just a sexist, cheap knockoff of Dark Souls.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say, to reference back, just thinking about other medias that we've talked about today, the incel thing that's coming out of Joker almost feels like it's
a similar
thing. Is like,
right, it's mislabeling and then pushing this idea that is so far removed without reflecting on what American culture is. You know?
Well, I think it's just the media culture as a whole. They
Mm.
want to find things to...
People want to be upset in this day
Yeah.
and age.
Oh yeah, outrage culture summarizes it perfectly.
Yeah, it's essentially outrage culture. Most of these people don't really care. I wouldn't be too... I mean, not the reviewers. Some of the reviewers probably did play the game.
Well, yeah, no, you read the review, and then you realize that what the guys basically said is, I really disagree with this one character. I really disagree with the fact that the camera panned up from this woman's chest to her face. But I like the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but...
And I'm like, isn't that the principal thing? That you liked the game?
Yeah.
It tells me so much about just how society is reflecting
Well, they
on this.
talk about how open-minded everybody should be nowadays, but it seems like they're the ones being more closed-minded to different cultures and...
Yeah, they're almost Victorian about it.
Yeah.
You can't have this, you can't have that, you can't show this, cover that up. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
Tone it down.
I thought y'all were all about the freedom and all of that of women, and it sounds
when it's
convenient for your
Yeah.
message.
Right, but it's almost as if they assume, right, that by creating this game, that they've taken the agency away from the female characters in the game.
Right.
Perhaps the 3,000-year-old vampire woman wants to be wearing this, because she knows it's a great distraction. It's like the Power Girl argument. Why does she have a window there? Because people get distracted.
Yes, it's in male
And
nature.
it is her choice to use her assets to distract whoever's about to get beat down because they were too busy taking notice. When there's a Kryptonian about to smack
if
you.
they aren't looking in her eyes, they can't see the lasers coming.
She's trying to protect them, people.
Right. Sorry, look. And so they make the same argument, right? Where women in these games always choose to be either lightly
They try to
armored,
victimize
right,
them.
lightly armored or
So
wearing
armored.
scandalous clothes, but the guys in full plate. Well, let's look about standards of attraction here, right? If a woman wanted to appeal, generally speaking, right, perhaps the appealing thing would be to have less on, not to be in full plate. As a guy, it really doesn't matter. Right?
Women really focus on when Chris Hemsworth has his shirt off. That's all I'm saying.
That is true, but the appeal is taking off the shirt.
Not that it was already off.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When the guy undons the armor and you're like, look at that dude, six pack, biceps
That's
for
why
days.
he can fit that armor on.
Right, and it makes perfect sense. The woman isn't trying to block a heavy sword with armor. She's trying to dodge. So why would I put her in full plate? And if
That
you
would
do,
slow her down.
right, and
More
you can,
likely to kill her.
and you can swap it around too. If you have a kung fu fighter like Bruce Lee, right? Okay, pants. That's all the guy needs.
Yeah.
Right?
Somebody of small build like me, I wouldn't be in full
Right.
plate armor.
And in fantasy settings, like when you have half orc women, full plate.
Yeah. Because the
Why?
way they're built, that makes sense.
She has the strength to put it on. As long as it makes sense in the context of the series, why does it matter? They're vampires. What do you expect them to do? Use their superhuman speed to dodge or their superhuman strength to walk around in full plate? Would it be better to take the hit or to not get hit when you're fighting things that are used to be vampires like you, which in Code Vein, that's what the monsters are,
They used to be.
with super strength?
Yeah.
Whatever you could possibly wear, they're going to cut through. You get hit in that game and your health bar completely depletes. One shot. I'd rather dodge.
It doesn't take much.
Right, so even in the context of the game, it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense to those reviewers, though, because they're so focused. Anyways, but obviously we have a different viewpoint on how the reviewers view this. It's pretty much a pointless argument because they're not going to change their mind on this situation. So I think it'd be best to go on to the next topic, which is the Sony anime merger. What I mean by Sony anime merger is that Sony decided to merge Funimation, and that is, of course, their American U.S. streaming distribution company. And then there is the Australian distribution company, Madman, in France's. And I will butcher this, but I think it's Wackenham. And essentially, they had a press meeting last week, basically talking about how Aniplex will basically... Aniplex. That Funimation...
It's so catchy. Sorry.
It is. Aniplex. So Aniplex and Sony Pictures Television will own Funimation and Madman and Wakanim, and they will combine them all one together and under the name of Funimation, since it's the bigger brand name. And essentially, I think I don't like how things have been going on with Funimation right now with the recent leaks of conversations they had there with
Sean Schimmel.
Yeah, with Sean Schimmel and Vegeta.
Yeah, Christopher Sabat, the whole Vic Mignogna thing.
The whole situation. This might be a good...
Monica Rao.
Yeah, this could be a good page turner for them if they plan on changing the structure of Funimation, maybe looking at that situation and maybe trying to clean house or fix the place from what was going on behind the scenes with the voice actors and many other things that they had going on.
Right, because I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because either you take Funimation as the big brand name and you put that as the top name because it's the one that most everyone knows.
Yeah,
the problem is
it's the big name.
Most everyone knows it. And currently, Funimation is like...
it's not a good name right now.
Right. So it's like attaching a diseased arm to yourself,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You might just die from it. But, conversely, this could be them turning to a new leaf. And not only could this be a broadcasting solution, because what they're doing is they're pooling all of their separate broadcasting sources for these different countries and making it one big broadcasting network. So maybe something that we would never have gotten because it only appears in Australia now can be shown here in the US. Same thing with the French anime. Maybe they could also pool talent pools from those separate countries.
And they could work on getting more streaming rights, some more stuff in Japan that they haven't gotten before.
Right, with more pool because it'll be a bigger
company.
You know, where it's going to be showing to more people.
And Aniplex could be making some premiere stuff there and stuff like that.
Right. This is the redemption arc.
Essentially, it sounds like they're trying to redeem themselves because they have been in hot water.
And we might get an Australian Piccolo.
That would be hilarious.
Australian Piccolo.
No, I love Piccolo's current voice actor. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no, I love him too.
Right, but
what does that sound like?
That's my point.
Have you heard some of the terrible dubs of Dragon Ball Z?
From different countries?
Yes, it's hilarious.
The Mexican dub is to die for.
Yeah.
Goku kills me. Goku and
I also grew up with the English dub, so when Dragon Ball Super came out, America takes too long on making dubs. They finally start catching up on it.
Yeah,
but it took too long for me, so I started watching the Japanese, and I'm like, I know there's purists that love Goku's voice, but I'm like, why is there an old woman doing Goku's voice? What's going on? It took me forever to get used to it.
Well, see, I'm of the old opinion that I have been consuming the media since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And my brother spent a lot of time overseas. So most of my stuff was direct source back in 1998, 99, 2000. So I have been subbed for a very long time. Like, I mean, Japanese sub for Inuyasha, for Dragon Ball Z.
Sub is life.
So I'm sitting here and I've been there for a very, very long time. And then I saw the English dub of some of these things and I'm like, wow, do Americans sound like me? I know it's really strange to put it like that, but there's a lot of deep voices and a lot of gruff sounds, and I'm just like, I ain't used to this. But hey, now we might get a whole bunch of flexibility.
A lot more flexibility, obviously. Then we might get, because obviously they've been working a lot harder on the simulcasting to where the English dub and the sub comes out at the same time. They'll probably be able to work on that at a lot faster rate for the English dub and for our friends over in France and Australia. So all around, it really works out for them. I didn't know that France and Australia honestly had their own streaming service. So this was news to me because obviously I don't live there. So
not only has it been a thing for a long, long time, but actually you'll be surprised exactly how many places actually have their own ability to dub and sub. For instance, not only dub and sub, but also reanimate.
Yeah.
Latin America has a large anime community. Like Brazil, Panama, that
I've seen some of their stuff. Yeah.
Right. But not only do they get different, VAs, obviously, because this has to be dubbed into their own language.
It's not censored.
Yeah. Like, if you ever seen Sailor Moon Latin American Sailor Moon
Nuh-uh.
It's nonsense.
at
Oh,
all.
Wow.
So the original Sailor Moon transformation, as you might know,
Yeah.
is censored
Yeah, it's very different from
for obvious reasons. You go over there and you watch it from the Latin America dub, and you're like, nope, that is what that is.
Everything's different over there. Speed Racer.
Yeah. So
Everything.
See, that's another point towards Code Vein too.
yeah. Right, is that you change basically by region,
Yeah.
as far as how cultural acceptance goes and how you present things. And no offense, but Sailor Moon was a kid's too.
It was.
That's always been a thing though in games. They would have region lock games.
Yeah.
You just recently
And
started
like
getting stuff.
Australia was one of the main people that like they would. There's a lot of big games that had to cut out parts for just so that way they could sell it to Australia.
Yeah, Australia has a thing about gun violence, so
Yeah.
that cuts a whole bunch of stuff from them.
Yeah.
But so I think it's a good idea. I hope that it turns into something positive. I hope that Funimation gets its head on straight and
Go back to its old '90s glories days.
right.
During
when
its inception.
when we were happy.
Yeah.
And we remember choosing it over Warner Brothers. What was it? WB Kids
Yeah, WB
versions
Kids.
of dubbing.
Yeah.
Because man, if you had to choose between WB Kids and Funimation, you chose Funimation every day.
Yes, you did.
WB, man.
Childhood, man.
WB is
Childhood.
better than 4Kids TV.
Oh,
my
4
God,
Kids!
4
Oh!
That was the Fox one.
Oh, wait, which one was the one that did One Piece and gave Sanji the lollipop? Was that
4
4
Kids.
Kids? That was
4
4
Kids.
Kids.
4
Yeah.
Kids also did did Shaman King.
Ugh.
They
Oh.
butchered Shaman King.
So
I
bad.
do give Funimation credit. They've always done a pretty good job. With their
Shaman
dubbing.
King was surprisingly dark.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
To be on 4 Kids,
Well,
like for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, on the whole premise, though, we've been dealing with dead people since episode.
That was
Like,
yeah, even
that was outside of
the
that,
show.
though.
Early 90s was dead stuff.
Yeah. If you think back about it, even like standard cartoons were really dark.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you go back during like the very beginning, like 1940s type like animation, like during Disney's early days, man, there were some dark cartoons during those days.
Or you just got to remember some of the big movies like Fantasia.
Yeah, he loves Fantasia. So
I
any
love
chance he can bring up
Fantasia.
Fantasia, he will.
My favorite segment in Fantasia, and I think it's actually in Fantasia 2000, is the jazz section where it's got the guy that's down on his luck, and his wife has got a dog that's always putting him in debt, and then it's got this guy that wants to drum, and it's a really cool like through the city kind of scenario, and it's one of my favorite segments. It's completely
I'm
off
sure.
topic.
No, that's
But,
all right. I know he.
I'm happy
he
to
knows
hear
exactly what you're
all
talking
about it, man. I don't know if there are any other Fantasia fans out there, but that is like one of my favorite works from Disney. Just throwing it out there.
He's not a fan of modern Disney, so it's always nice to hear him say something positive about it.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the time, you are going to hear me drag on Disney.
Yes, which is why we have not brought up about Disney Plus yet. We will bring that up when it comes out in November. And I will have him watch The Mandalorian. Oh my god.
Yes, please. Never mention the Mandarin to me.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's why I said oh my god, because he will go on a rant.
How
Here we
dare
go.
they take him from Iron
All right,
Man and give
all
him
right,
to
all right.
Shang-Chi?
I know it. Give him Shang-Chi. All
I
right,
said the same thing.
I think we all feel that way, but this is not otaku related.
I know, okay. Yes, back to Japan.
Yes. So the big topic that I know Devontae and Matt are like super pumped about to talk about is the Boruto, the most recent chapter. It's been talked about. I've seen it all over Facebook. I don't read the manga, so I have no clue what's going on. So I'm gonna have you guys fill me in. Devontae, Mr. Otaku, can fill you in on this.
Yeah, give us a
Okay.
synopsis of the
So,
chapter, my friend.
Boruto lost. Naruto lost. It's Naruto Sasuke. The legends. The Hokage and the Shadow Hokage. They lost.
Okay, you gotta.
It's okay, so if you follow the Boruto story, you realize that Naruto's Hokage, Sasuke's Shadow Hokage, things are peaceful. There's really no violence. Naruto achieved his goal, and this Otsutsuki group comes up again. If you watched Boruto the movie, or you saw
Naruto the Last.
Naruto the Last,
Yeah.
and the end of Naruto, you know that the Otsutsuki is like this ancient group of like alien ninjas. If that makes sense.
Essentially, yeah, because the last bit of Naruto gets very
Yeah,
confusing.
alien ninjas, functionally deities, space gods, whatever you want to call them.
So this chapter that came out starts off with the Osusuki Ishiki, which is like the new guy that shows up. He teleports Naruto to another dimension. Sasuke shows up. He uses his Rinnegan. They go all out in the fight, and this guy who is potentially possessing somebody named Jigen basically beats them with little to no effort.
I heard he was the resurrection of the big bad from that group, the original.
I have no idea.
Well, that's what I've heard.
There's like
There are plenty of theories going around.
Yeah.
8 members of the Osusuki, and they only named like 3 so far.
Right.
You got Kaguya,
So essentially,
Momoshiki.
Naruto's like in like a form of a prison right now.
Yeah,
Functionally
it's like
limbo.
a giant coffin.
Yeah,
In
and then
another
Sasuke
dimension.
ran away in time.
Yeah, he teleported. Naruto sacrificed himself. Jigen couldn't kill Naruto right there.
Let's before we say Naruto sacrificed himself, what happened was Naruto was like, I'm not gonna let anything happen to this kid that's in my village. And the guy was like, well, you're kind of a problem. So, and it removes him.
From the story. So let's talk about this on scale. Naruto and Sasuke, the most powerful characters in the series.
They're essentially gods at the end
Right.
of Naruto Shippuden.
I mean, they're literally blowing up parts of the moon in space.
Yeah.
So what can we say about them, right? Well, how about there's this new guy. He's the new villain. He comes onto the scene. He's repping an old school. But Naruto and Sasuke are like, we're going to handle this immediately.
Yeah.
We get full Susanoo. We get full Kurama.
They
We
don't
get
play.
maximum power.
Yeah.
And they get bodied. And it's ridiculous. It's
Every form, ninjutsu, ocular jutsu, chakra-based fighting, taijutsu.
Tsukiyomi.
In like a
Ain't burning
small amount
nothing.
of time, he beat them in everything.
See, I didn't. When I was reading that chapter, I didn't see Sasuke use Susanoo at all. I didn't see him use anything outside of that initial Rinnegan. It was just hand to hand with him and
He used
Naruto.
Amaretsu.
I didn't see that,
He absorbed it. Jigen absorbed it with his karma.
but I did see where like Naruto. Like one thing that I really like about this series is that they adapt as they go.
Mhm.
And so when he's sitting there and like this whole power is that he disappears and he pops back up and they're trying to figure out what it
He
is.
shrinks.
He shrinks and he can make things expand. So one of his abilities is that he takes like these like needle things and he throws them at people and then like they'll lodge themselves into their skin and then he makes them expand. And so like you have this huge
They
spike.
absorb chakra as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's why it was like, there was nothing they could do. There really wasn't anything they could do.
Look, all I'm saying is that they set the old ground rules, right? That Sasuke's Susanoo armor, impenetrable. No. Perfectly penetrable. Infinite chakra via the form of fully maximizing Kurama, the nine-tailed fox. Not so infinite, right? Biju bombs being able to blow up parts of planetary bodies don't really matter here.
They needed to de-level them essentially.
Right. And the fact that Sasuke's 2 eyes allow him to be basically a master of taijutsu and fighting Sasuke in a hand-to-hand battle is equivalent to suicide. Also, Sasuke gets bodied in hand-to-hand combat.
They almost got him that one moment and he was like, y'all did really good. I'm going to take the kid gloves off now.
It stomp you in.
The
Man.
takeaway from that chapter is Kurama telling Naruto to shut up before he dies. That was like the big thing. Kurama is not scared of anybody.
Yeah, he's a big ball of chakra and rage. Yeah, he's like, nah, I think we need
He's
to...
got the ego of a mountain.
Right, we need to calm down.
Also, we see Ishiki, who is potentially Jigen, after fighting Naruto and Sasuke, he reaches his limit. His body starts to crack and his eyes water. And you realize that Ishiki is possessing Jigen, which is through this karma mark, which Kawaki and Boruto also have.
Yep.
Boruto got his from Momoshiki.
Yep.
So this is kind of like I don't want to say they don't have physical bodies, but they need a vessel
Or specifically this one, definitively
to
needs one.
exist in this dimension. So
we also come into terms with exactly how things work. We understand that it's not just, here's this villain that no one can beat. He came in, he made us all look like trash, and then walked out, because it's not a Madara effect.
Right.
Because that was Madara when he first appeared, and he went, meteor. Wait for it. Meteor. And I can keep doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See, that's one of the things that I loved about him, though. Is like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, the Hashirama and Madara, they're the equivalent of gods," and you never see that until you see it, and
right?
You realize, like,
yes, they are.
But there is a limit. The fact that he has this host body, and the fact that I guess they just didn't realize it in time. So you can beat him if you can hold out, because he has insanely high offensive capability, but he is a glass cannon. He has insanely high offense, but if you can get rid of the host body, which because of his shrinking ability, it's really hard to actually do that. But if you can super the Rasen Shuriken, you know what I'm saying, that destroys every cell, throw a massive one of those, de-atomize everything on that side of the map, maybe you win.
Well, see, that was something that they got close with. Did you read the chapter?
Yeah.
Well, they got close with the big Rasengan.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they try to do something else with that? Like, why?
I mean, you literally have Kurama. You have as much chakra as you could ever. But, dude,
he had chakra absorbing rods.
That's also the reason why they were having a hard time.
Towards the end of that chapter, everybody was tired.
That is true.
Sasuke, he was like, I only got enough chakra to escape. If I do anything else, I'm going to be stuck here.
When that rod went through his arm, I was like, oh, that's it.
He only had one arm. So it's like, wow.
The game is out, baby. But, that's my whole point. With future knowledge, they can bring Naruto out of this dimension. Him and Sasuke can work together. And if you let, Naruto chakra pump Sasuke and then Amaterasu everything in the foreseeable area and burn out his host body, they have a chance of winning. So, the writer didn't make it hopeless. Yeah, but God, was it just mind-boggling to see them get bodied like that.
Yeah, that hurt. Yeah. That hurt.
Also, this goes back to Boruto, the beginning of the anime.
We come full circle.
Kawaki and Boruto fighting. Potentially, Kawaki is Ishiki possessing Kawaki's body.
Right, and he says, I'll send you to where I sent your dad. And we're like, oh crap, they killed Naruto, but it's not. It's not Naruto's an extra dimension. So, Naruto's alive for now.
To that timeline.
Yep. And then Boruto has the, what's the name of it? Jogan, which is a dimensional ocular jutsu he can use.
Which is why we're getting the special event where he gets to meet his dad when he's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, you're fine. Essentially, there was a lot going on. There's finally a big bad that's really started to pique everyone's interest, in my opinion, because I have not seen a lot of talk about the big Boruto villains in recent times. But this one is finally a big bad that everyone's kind of
because it was scaled to Boruto and his friends.
Now it's scaled to Naruto and Sasuke.
Right. Which, by the way, Boruto stands no chance. Period.
No, of course not. He ain't his daddy.
Right.
You got this guy. He uses teleportation. He can shrink. He has a 10 tails that he siphons for energy. He absorbs chakra.
I'm going to have to catch up to this.
Yeah, all the classic tropes that make Naruto villains really hard to deal with. The dude has them all in one party. He has Pain's basic mechanic. Because that's functionally what Pain had. Push and pull for Pain.
Yeah, I remember that.
Was such a pain in the butt.
Well, his name is Pain. So.
Right. Then you have Obito's phasing. Even though it's not necessarily phasing, his shrinking and growing thing is quite similar to phasing. You have Haku's needle technique. Right? If you remember Haku way back in the day. He's taken some of the worst aspects of other Naruto villains and is just abusing them to the maximum.
Yes.
So he's really cool. And the only reason why I can think that Boruto stands any chance is that once he leaves Jigen and goes to Old Boy as his new host, he can't utilize his full powers in the new body.
Yeah, that would be my assumption.
That's the only way Boruto...
He's depowered at that point with this host. That would be my assumption.
Yeah, Boruto's pretty powerful too.
Yeah, he is.
Even though he's still young,
he's still not his dad yet.
He has swordsmanship, chakra control. He has, I think, 3 different chakra natures.
Yeah.
From the jump.
Keep in mind, he's been trained by not only a Hyuga, but an Uchiha as well.
that entire
No,
generation
Gentle
though.
Fist.
Yeah. That entire generation is hyper efficient though.
Yes.
Like literally out of the
Yeah.
gates, they were all better than their parents or elders.
Well,
Look at
that was because of who their parents were.
Shikaide using Winjutsu.
somebody that tripped me out was Choji's daughter already using partial expansion like it's nothing.
When Shoji had to work so hard to get that
Mhm.
down, like they are infinitely better than their parents.
But that's how it always happens. You know, the next generation always becomes stronger than the next in these sort of things.
I mean, you say that, but that wasn't generally the case in Naruto.
Yeah,
Because if you consider the first generation to be
Yeah.
Hashirama and Madara,
that's true.
we went down, up, down, up, down.
You
up.
also have to look at. I know it's hard to say but look at where they were. Hashirama and Tobirama, and they were constantly fighting.
Yeah.
And then there was an era of peace, and then nobody needed to be as strong as they had to be. There was ninja wars and stuff like that.
But you had
But children had childhoods.
right, and you had the third Hokage who was powerful, but nowhere near.
He was the remnants of the old war.
Right.
Right.
And so now we have this exact opposite thing, where it's been the most peaceful it's been in a while. They actually have time to train their kids.
Yeah, properly trained.
Yeah.
Without being forced into war. So that makes sense why they're much more efficient. They weren't forced into a situation for a long period of time.
And you notice that all of them are whip smart and strong, but none of them want to do anything.
Well, they
They are the lazy generation.
They're the lazy generation. They're basically mimicking the current generation in real life.
Yep.
But also, I think the big thing
Poor
was
Metal.
Metal,
I'm
man.
sorry. Just
Metal.
the schooling is much more focused in this generation than any of the other ones, because Naruto, because of, no offense, but how dumb he was, he realized how important school was for the new
It's
generation.
like his number one thing.
Which
Yeah.
really trips me out, because if you actually watch Naruto, he's not that dumb.
no.
He's not dumb.
He's tactically intelligent.
He's
Yeah.
clever.
But right. But
Fair.
He's
but
not
yeah,
book
yeah,
smart
yeah.
whatsoever.
He's clever.
Right. Like if you have to look at him as a D&D character, he put his points in whiz, not intelligence.
Yeah.
It's like I can get out of this, but not thinking.
I'm just saying, he beat the big bad with a sexy jutsu.
Right. Like wisdom.
Very, very, very Naruto of him.
Yeah.
Only
I
way
was
to go
wondering
out.
when it was going to come back. I knew it was going to come back.
Sexy jutsu?
I hadn't
came-
seen it.
Well, remember,
I knew it was going to come back.
It played a role in defeating the first villain, and it played a role in defeating the last. So there it is.
Everything comes full circle,
Which
as it
is-
should.
Which is true, because Naruto is a very circular series.
Yes.
There are plenty of tropes and character archetypes and stories that have kind of just repeated, with the exception of they may get fixed in a later generation. You know what I'm saying? Because Sasuke is very similar to previous characters in
Yes.
the history of
Yeah.
Naruto, and then you have Naruto who stops him from becoming just like them.
Yes,
So
he stopped the cycle.
right.
Speaking of stopping cycles, I think this is a good stopping point for our Otaku Talk.